Awesome. I'm going to jump right into things because my last one was over 6 minutes. So I'm going to make this quick, brief. But today I'm going to be sharing some data-driven recommendations on how FC Barcelona can win a UCL title again. I'm wearing my Lamine Yamal jersey right now to represent. I'm excited to discuss these things with you. So Barcelona is one of the most successful clubs of the 21st century. They won 4 UEFA Champions League titles, 11 La Liga titles, and 7 Copa del Rey championships in the last 25 years. As you might know, in 2003, Barcelona recruited Lionel Messi as a teenager, and he would go on to become the greatest soccer player of all time and help the club win 4 of those Champions League titles. The problem is despite this success, Real Barcelona has actually greatly struggled since 2015 when they last won their UCL championship. You can see that over the last 20 years, they won those first 4, which was only 2 less than Real Madrid. But since 2015, when Barca won that last one, Real Madrid has gone on to win 5. And this is a very big problem because Real Madrid is their biggest rival, and they can't just let their rival go on and win and win and win over and over again. They need to take charge into their own hands and they need to build a squad that can win. So this raises the question, as the manager of Barcelona, what should you do to build more Champions League winning teams? This is a 2-step solution that I'm going to be recommending today with a win now focus and a win later focus. The win now focus is centered on Barcelona buying top forwards, high value forwards from other clubs so that they can increase their attack, which I will go on to discuss is the most important factor of a UCL winning team. The win later focus is more centered on Barca's youth academy, which is called La Masia. It is the best youth academy in the world. They produce some of the best talent, but as of late, obviously with Barca's struggles, they need to make sure that they are recruiting from the best places. So I'll be going over the top countries and the top positions that Barca needs to focus on in recruiting for La Masia. Here's my data source that I use. I took every Champions League winning team from the last 20 years, every player on those teams, the position, the year, their market value, and their nationality and their age. I put it into an Excel sheet and I used Tableau to come to many of these data-driven analysis and recommendations. Real quick, market value, since it's a little bit different than sports in the US, I just want to describe what it is. In soccer or football, these clubs have a player signed to a contract and they have a market value attached to them, and no other club can sign that player without paying that club the market value that they're worth. So if a player is worth 2 million euros, then Barcelona is going to have to pay 2 million euros to be able to sign that player and pay them a salary, and they're going to have to be paying that to the other club. Getting into the analysis, I want to first go over this market value metric and just see how market value has shifted and the most important factors of market value. So you can see in 2005, when Liverpool won, they were paying $92 million for all their players, or that was the market value of all those players. And then in 2024, that number had jumped up to 705 million euros for the most recent winning Real Madrid team. So you can see that soccer clubs are very popular. They're growing fast, and the market value of their players are astronomical at this point. It's very expensive, and you have to make wise decisions on who you recruit. Down here, you can see this kind of split up by position, and you can see that forwards are the most expensive asset that a team has. And this is the average market value of these position groups. So they're spending the most on their forwards than any other position. In all 6 of Real Madrid's UCL championships of this century, you can see that they have used high value forwards, and Barca needs to follow suit if they ever want to win like Real Madrid has been winning. The average market value by position of UCL winning teams is 61.4 million euros. And specifically, you can see right here that Real Madrid is dishing out much more than that on their UCL winning teams on their forward position. So they're spending a lot less on their midfielders, on their defensemen, and on their goalkeeper. But you can see that they're spending a significant amount on their forwards, and as a result, they're actually winning way more Champions League than other teams. So Barcelona needs to prioritize the forward position, and they need to be willing to fork out some initial investment money now to get the best forwards possible. Another thing to consider is where should Barca be recruiting? And this is more focused on La Masia. La Masia needs to go out. They need to send scouts to the top countries of Brazil, Spain, England, Germany, and France and find the best players that they can. Those 5 countries account for over 50% of all of the distinct players that won a UCL title in the last 20 years. So it's clear that these countries are notorious for winning the most. One consideration is that Africa might be underrepresented because many African UCL winners are actually first or second generation immigrants with citizenship in a new country. For example, France is full of these African immigrants, and as a result, France might be slightly overrepresented, while some of these African countries might be underrepresented. I broke this down into position as well because I want you to see which positions come from which countries. You can see that France and Brazil produce the most forwards, and this is likely because those people are tend to be agile and fast, just genetically. Whereas Spain, Germany, and England produce the most midfielders. These are the more technical. They might be slower, but they're very technical. They can make the right passes. And the defensemen come from Spain, Brazil, and England. That's because these are kind of melting pot areas. They produce very tall, very strong men who can perform the defensive functions very well. So La Masia needs to focus sending their scouts on different countries for different positions. And by doing so, they will be able to, in 4, 5, 6, 7 years, have the best teams possible, especially if they start sending scouts to Brazil and France for forwards, because we determined that that was the most important position. Now, in conclusion, I want to kind of summarize everything and go back over the short-term and long-term goal. So while Barcelona has been very successful, they have been struggling, particularly since Lionel Messi left the club. They have not had any success in the UCL until actually this year, where they've actually implemented a few of these things. And failure to win a title soon might actually cause Barcelona fans to leave, and it might even prevent Barcelona from climbing out of their financial situation that they're in. In the short term, like I talked about, Barcelona needs to make some investments in high producing, high market value forwards. Likely from Brazil, likely from France. They need to have that fast attack, strong shooters, things like that. And most of those shooters are going to come from France and Brazil. And then in the long term, Barcelona needs to further utilize their youth academy. La Masia is the greatest of all time. They produce Messi, Lamine Yamal, Xavi, Iniesta, and more. So they need to leverage this and their ability to make players as good as they can. But first, they need to find the best players possible, and they need to send out scouts to those select countries of England, Spain, Brazil, Germany, and France, and they need to recruit the best talent for the best positions. By doing so, they will have a chance to win in those 4, 5, 6, 7 years on and win those UCL titles. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I will see you guys on Wednesday.